Good morning, Prep 1. Our lesson today is about chemical compounds. Today we will talk about the difference between chemical compounds. Compounds are classified into many types. Compounds may be acid, base, or alkalis, oxides, and salts. As we studied in the first term, compounds, they have different atoms. In the first term, we studied the difference between element and compound. Elements have similar atoms, but compounds have different atoms. Today we will make a classification for compounds into acid, base or alkalis, oxides and salts. At the first we will talk about acids. We will make a comparison between acids and bases or alkalis. Acids start with positive hydrogen ion, but bases end with negative hydroxide ion. يعني دلوقتي عندي base acids they have at the beginning في الأول positive hydrogen ion, but bases they end by في الآخر هلاقي إيه negative hydroxide ion. طيب acids they are the substance or materials which dissociate in water forming positive hydrogen ion. يبقى ما اسمها positive hydrogen ion I'm talking about acids. But bases they are substances which dissociate in water producing negative hydroxide ion. يبقى أول ما اسمها negative hydroxide ion I'm talking about bases or alkalis. At the first, acids, as I said, the chemical formula of all acids begin with positive hydrogen ion. This positive hydrogen ion is joined with what? Is joined with يا إما negative atomic group or non-metal or negative ion of non-metal. Except oxygen, because if it is oxygen it will be another kind which is oxide. يبقى acid they start with positive hydrogen ion. This positive hydrogen ion combine with يا إما negative atomic group, except we studied in the valency the atomic groups like hydroxide, like nitrate, nitrite, carbonate, sulfate, phosphate. We studied all of them. We can combine any negative atomic group with positive hydrogen ion, any negative atomic group except hydroxide. اشمعنى except hydroxide? Because hydroxide is present in alkali. So if it is oxide it will be alkali, it will not be acid. طيب. For example, for positive hydrogen ion with negative atomic group they mean hydrogen and sulfate. Hydrogen and sulfate. Sulfate, as we studied at the first, is diatomic, but hydrogen is monoatomic. So we'll exchange the valency. So the valency will be the hydrogen will take the 2 and the sulfate will take the 1. يبقى هتبقى ايه؟ H2SO4. H2SO4. This is called sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid. Another example for acids, nitric acid. Nitric acid. HNO3. This is called nitric acid. Both sulfate and the nitrate, they are negative atomic groups. They are negative atomic groups. طب example for non-metals like hydrochloric acid. Hydrogen اهو and chlorine. Chlorine is non-metal. Hydrobromic acid. Hydrobromic acid. Hydrogen and bromine. يبقى chlorine and bromine, both of them are non-metals. يبقى تاني عندنا acids. Acids contains of positive hydrogen ion at the beginning and combine with it negative group. The other joined with, ممكن joined with مين؟ ممكن negative atomic group or non-metal. All negative atomic groups except مين؟ ما عدا مين؟ الهيدروكسيد, because hydroxide is present in alkali. طب for example sulfuric acid اهي. sulfuric acid begin with ايه؟ في الاول في ايه؟ هيدروجين. اما اشوف هيدروجين في الاول يبقى ايه؟ this is acid. sulfuric acid. nitric acid اهو at the beginning في هيدروجين, يبقى ايه؟ يبقى acid. sulfuric acid. nitric acid. طيب هنا sulfate is atomic group, nitrate is atomic group. يبقى ممكن الهيدروجين ده combine with negative atomic group, او ممكن ايه or negative or non-metal except mean except oxygen, because oxygen we will study it in oxide. طيب زي ايه non-metal؟ for example hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid. chlorine is non-metal. hydrobromic acid. Hydrobromic acid برضو it's acid, so it starts with positive hydrogen ion. طيب هنا non bases, they are substance which dissociate in water producing negative hydroxide ion. And the chemical formula of all bases end with negative hydroxide ion. For example sodium hydroxide, this is negative, so the compound or the element in the first is positive, which is metal. It's always metal. For example sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide. Also potassium hydroxide. Calcium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, calcium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide has other name which is caustic soda. Potassium hydroxide, calcium hydroxide, which has other name which is lime water. Now we will take another comparison between acids and bases. Acid, they turn the color of litmus paper into red. They turn the color of litmus paper from blue into red. But bases turn the color of litmus paper into blue. They turn the color of litmus paper into blue. يبقى هنا acids they turn the color of litmus paper from blue to red, but bases change the color of litmus paper from red into blue. Remember base يبقى ايه؟ blue. Base blue and the acids red. The taste of acids is they have sour taste. Sour taste, like the lemon, it has sour taste. But bases, they have better taste. Better يعني مر. They have better taste, طعمهم مر. And they feel slippery. They feel slippery. بيزحلقوا كده. خلاص؟ يبقى acids they have sour taste, but bases they have better taste and they feel slippery. يبقى let's make a revision. Acids they are chemical substance or materials which dissociate in water producing positive hydrogen ion. The chemical formula of acids may be start with hydrogen, positive hydrogen ion, which join with negative atomic group or negative non-metal element, except oxygen. The properties of acid they have sour taste and the change of color litmus paper from blue into red. Why? Give reason. Why acids change the color of litmus paper into red, or they have sour taste due to presence of positive hydrogen ion. But bases they have negative hydroxide ion. The chemical formula of all bases or alkalis end with negative hydroxide group, like sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, calcium hydroxide. Properties of alkalis, they have better taste and they feel slippery. They change the color of litmus paper from red into blue. Why? Give reason. Due to presence of negative hydroxide ion. ايه اللي يخليها تغير color بتاع litmus paper into blue? Why they have better taste? Due to presence of negative hydroxide ion. Now we will talk about oxides. Oxides. Oxides are combination between oxygen and the element. It is combination between oxygen and the element. This element may be metal or non-metal. Metal or non-metal. عشان كده I said in the acid we can't use non-metal which is oxygen. I can use any non-metal like hydrochloric acid, hydrobromic acid, any non-metal. But can I use oxygen? No, I can't use oxygen in acids. The non-metal can't be oxygen. Why? Because oxygen is present in oxides. Oxides, they are combination between oxygen and the element. This element may be metal or non-metal. Metals will be metal oxide, and with non-metals it will be non-metal oxide. Metal, it will be metal oxide, and with non-metal it will be non-metal oxide. Metal oxide, they are formed from combination between oxygen and the metal. Oxygen and the metal. For example, sodium oxide. Sodium oxide. The atomic number sodium, its valency is 1, and the oxygen, its valency is 2. So I will exchange them. Sodium will take the valency of oxygen 2, and the oxygen will take the valency of sodium, which is 1. I will not write 1. So the chemical formula of sodium oxide, Na2O. Sodium oxide. Also another example is aluminium oxide. Aluminium oxide. Why did I write aluminium oxide like this? Aluminium, its valency is 3. Oxygen, its valency is 2. I will exchange them. Aluminium will take the valency of oxygen, which is 2, and the oxygen will take the valency of aluminium, which is 3. So I will write aluminium oxide Al2O3. For again, metal oxides like sodium oxide and aluminium oxides. Non-metal oxides like carbon dioxide, CO2, and the sulfur trioxide. Carbon is non-metal, non-metal oxide. Sulfur also is non-metal, non-metal oxide. Carbon dioxide, sulfur trioxide. Carbon here, as we know, carbon, its valency is 4, and the valency of oxygen is 2. I will exchange them, but before I exchange, I will make 2 divided 2 equal 1, and the 4 divided 2 equal 2. Then I will make exchange. Carbon will take 1, and the oxygen will take 2, CO2. Sulfur trioxide, as we know, sulfur has many valences, 2 or 4 or 6. In this case, sulfur is 6, hexavalent. Its name is hexavalent, 6. And the oxygen, as we know, its valency is 2. I will make 2 divided 2 equal 1. 6 divided 2 equal 3. Then I will exchange them. Sulfur will take the 1, and the oxygen will take the 3. Oxides, they are compounds resulted from combination between oxygen and the element. This element, even though it's metal or non-metal. Oxides are classified into metal oxide or non-metal oxide. Metal oxide, combination between oxygen and the element. For example, sodium oxide, aluminium oxide. Non-metal oxide, they are formed from combination between oxygen and non-metal. For example, carbon dioxide and the sulfur trioxide. The last type of compounds is salts. Salts. Where can we find the salts? Salt exists in the earth crust, في قشرة الأرض, in the earth crust, or dissolved in water of seas and ocean. In seas and ocean. Where can we find salts? Salts are found in earth crust في قشرة الأرض or dissolved in water of seas and ocean. Salts, what is the chemical formula of salts? Salts are compounds resulted from combination between positive and negative. This positive may be metal or positive atomic group. What is the positive atomic group that we studied? NH4, ammonium. Or negative atomic group, or negative ion, which may be negative non-metal or negative atomic group. Negative atomic group, except hydroxide, because hydroxide is present in bases or alkali. Again, salts, they are formed from combination between something which is positive ion, and the negative ion. This positive ion may be metal or positive atomic group, and as we studied in the atomic groups, ammonium is positive atomic group. Or negative ion, which may be negative non-metal ion or negative atomic group, except hydroxide, which is present in bases. So salts, they are compounds resulted from combination between positive metal ion or positive atomic group with negative atomic group or negative non-metal. Of course, negative atomic group except hydroxide because it present in bases, and any negative non-metal except also oxygen. Why oxygen? Because it present in oxide. So any negative non-metal ion except oxygen because it's present in oxide. Let's take some examples. Salts. This salt, as I said, it may be positive, contains of positive metal ion or positive atomic group, which is ammonium. The positive atomic group is ammonium, NH4, positive 1. The positive metal may be combined with negative non-metal or negative atomic group, and also the positive atomic group may be combined with negative non-metal, of course except the oxygen, or negative atomic group. طيب هنا عندنا positive metal with positive non-metal like sodium chloride or table salt. Sodium is positive metal and the chlorine is negative non-metal. Also lead bromide. Lead bromide. Lead is positive metal ion, and the bromine is negative non-metal ion. Or positive metal with negative atomic group except hydroxide, which is present in bases or alkalis. Positive ion like sodium, and the negative atomic group like nitrate, sodium nitrate. Or positive metal ion like copper, and the negative atomic group like sulfate, copper sulfate. يبقى positive metal with negative atomic group, positive metal like sodium, and the negative atomic group like nitrate, sodium nitrate. Copper sulfate. Copper is metal, but sulfate is negative atomic group. Anhydrous copper sulfate. Here on the other side, positive atomic group, which is ammonium with the negative non-metal, ammonium chloride. Ammonium is positive atomic group, but chlorine is negative non-metal. Ammonium bromide. Ammonium bromide. Ammonium is positive atomic group, but bromine is negative non-metal. Another example for positive atomic group with negative atomic group, ammonium carbonate. Ammonium carbonate. The ammonium is monovalent, it has positive 1, and the carbonate is negative 2. Its valency is 2. So I will exchange them. I will make a bracket around the ammonium and put the 2. 2 is the valency of carbonate. Ammonium carbonate. Ammonium carbonate. Another example, ammonium nitrate. Ammonium nitrate. Ammonium is positive atomic group and the nitrate is negative atomic group. All negative ions form salt except, as I said, negative oxygen ion, because negative oxygen ion will form oxides. All negative atomic groups form salt except hydroxide, because hydroxide group is present in bases or alkalis. Properties of salts. Salts are different. They are not like each other. They are variant. Variant means different. They are different in, salts are different in taste, color, smell, and also solubility in water. So salts are different in taste, color, smell, and solubility in water. We will talk about solubility in water. Salts differ according to solubility in water into some of them dissolve in water, soluble in water, and some of them insoluble in water. Some salts are soluble in water بيدوبوا في المية, and some of them are insoluble, they can't dissolve in water. For example, salts which dissolve in water, of course, sodium chloride, the table salt, the salt that we use in our food, it's sodium chloride, it's dissolved in water, soluble in water. And the potassium sulfate, calcium nitrate, also sodium sulfide, salts which don't dissolve in water, insoluble in water, silver chloride, lead iodide, and lead sulfate. نفتكر كده, sodium chloride dissolve in water, but silver chloride don't dissolve in water. Sodium chloride dissolve in water, but silver chloride don't dissolve in water. اي حاجه فيها lead يبقى insoluble in water. الاكزامبلز اللي عندنا هنا ان الليد iodide والليد sulfate don't dissolve in water, they are insoluble in water. يبقى هنا عندنا soluble in water like sodium chloride, potassium sulfate, calcium nitrate, sodium sulfide, but insoluble in water like silver chloride, lead iodide, lead sulfate. All carbonate salts, any carbonate salt, carbonate which has CO3 -2, any carbonate salt don't dissolve in water except ما عدا مين, sodium nitrate, potassium sodium carbonate, potassium carbonate, and ammonium carbonate. All of them dissolve in water. يبقى any salt carbonate don't dissolve in water, insoluble in water, except مين, ما عدا مين تبعهم, sodium carbonate, potassium carbonate, ammonium carbonate. دول dissolve in water, they are soluble in water. يبقى اي حاجه اسمع فيها carbonate don't dissolve in water except مين, ما عدا دول, sodium carbonate, potassium carbonate, ammonium carbonate. And this is the end of our lesson, chemical reaction, chemical compounds, and we studied the difference between the different compounds, and we classified them into acid, base, salt, and oxide. Acids, they start with positive hydrogen ion. Bases, they end with negative hydroxide ion. يبقى acid أوله start with positive hydrogen ion. Bases end with negative hydroxide ion. الأكسايد فيه أكسجين, فيه بيبقى أكسجين. السولت بيكون عبارة عن positive ion with negative ion, ion with negative ion. Thank you, Prep 1.